Hey, Hardcore Hog fans. Rick DeWese here. A little bit of different setup today. I've got my good friend Steve Ridout in Houston, Texas. I got Bruce Suskie in Little Rock, Arkansas. Let's go, boys. Listen, it's the college football playoff. They picked the final 12 teams. We got to talk about it. There's a lot going on here. I'm a little bit pissed off that Alabama got left out for SMU. But Steve, I'll toss it to you first, and you tell me what you think about this 12-team deal.
Well, I'm no fan of Alabama, so I may not be as upset as you are. But the worst thing that could have happened for Alabama last night was SMU coming back in the fashion they did against a very competent and a very good Clemson team. Had that gotten lopsided as it was in the first half, in the second half, and Clemson had run away with that, Alabama would absolutely have been in there over SMU. So I'm not that upset about it. I think Herb Street said last night that if Alabama got in over Clemson, that it would have been a travesty of justice. SMU's coach, who's, was the ACC Coach of the Year this year, believed that his team deserved to be there, and I kind of agree with him. I'm ready to see what SMU can do. Do I think they can make a deep run? Probably not, but I'm a little bit tired of the Alabama sneaking in. This would have been the second year in a row that they kind of backdoored into it.
Yeah. Bruce, what do you think, bud?
Yeah, I agree there. I think that that field goal there on the what was it, a 57-yard field goal by Clemson there at the end, that changed everything right there. Had SMU ended up pulling that out, I think it would have been the debate this morning would have been Miami or Alabama getting that last spot. So personally, I agree. I think that loss to Oklahoma, and it was a blowout loss. They go to Norman, kick a field goal, get their ass stomped. That did it for them right there, I think. But, it's not so much just SMU getting in over Alabama. It's SMU getting in over Miami. It's SMU getting in over, in my opinion, I think you can make an argument for South Carolina and Ole Miss just for their body of work. But I get it. They're trying to spread it out and let these other programs have a shot at it. But, I would just say.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also
as an ACC candidate, I would have much rather seen Miami sitting in there instead of maybe a Clemson, because I just think there's a lot more competitive football going on there, but it is what it is.
Yep.
Well, SMU was the only undefeated team in the ACC as well, so that's a decent league. That's not a cupcake schedule. They've got guys in there that they got to win, they got to play, and as the only undefeated team in the ACC, I think they're deserving.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'm not against that.
Yeah, I can live with that. I'm okay with it. But I still, deep down, when who they have to play and looking at the schedules and looking at the quality wins, I get it. I'm not necessarily I'm against SMU, but I still scratching my head over this whole SMU and Indiana thing. Are they two of the top 12 teams? Are they two of the top 10 teams? Are they two of the top 25 teams? I don't know.
Yeah. I agree. Listen, I'm totally with you. Clemson's going to get the floor mopped with them by Texas. Penn State's going to mop the floor with SMU. Notre Dame and Indiana, I'll give that a good game and whatever. It doesn't matter. But I think Georgia's second team, which is what we're going to get, is going to mop the floor with Indiana or Notre Dame. So that part doesn't matter. And I think what we're going to see, and I have no idea why Boise State is number 3 with a bye. Maybe you guys can help me, but I'm telling you, it's going to be another story of Georgia TCU last year, 65-7. There's going to be some ridiculous score, whether it's SMU or Penn State. And I'm certain it'll be Penn State. But Penn State is absolutely going to destroy Boise State, and it could be an embarrassing score for the college football committee that chooses these teams. Just my thought.
There's not a lot of big cats in the Mountain West. I think UNLV was the second closest behind Boise at 10-3.
Yeah, 6-1 conference, and
yeah. I tend to agree with you, DeWese, but this is about expanding the playoff and getting the college football fans to where everybody's kind of clamored to be in over the last couple of years. Is 4 teams is not enough? Is it 6? Is it 8? I love the fact that they went to 12, and this kind of puts everybody on notice. So SMU, Boise, and even Oregon. I'm not so sold on Oregon. I watched that game last night. I wouldn't be so surprised if Penn State doesn't make a deep run here. That they've got the defense, they've got the offense. I love that offensive scheme that they run. It reminds me a little bit of Texas when they get that running game going. But I think this is an opportunity for college fans, particularly fan bases that normally are not in the college football playoff, to put their team up. Now, you see what happened to TCU a few years ago at Georgia. It was ugly. I was at that game. I was at the Michigan game prior when they put it on Michigan. But again, the college blue bloods are going to rise to the occasion, and I think you're going to see Texas there. I think you're going to see Georgia there. I really kind of think you might see Tennessee there too. Hopefully the
Tennessee
SEC
might
shine.
give Oregon a run. I'm telling you, Tennessee could run Oregon down. I mean, and if that's the case, you could end up with a Tennessee-Texas in the semis.
Well,
they run Oregon down.
They got to get past Ohio State, and I think if Ohio State loses in the first round of Tennessee, they may be looking for a coaching change in Columbus for sure after what happened to them against Michigan.
Yep, yeah, I agree.
I agree 100%. But I'll tell you what, who's the happiest about Boise and SMU getting their seeds, like you said, is Penn State. Because, you think about Penn State, they're going to get a home game against SMU. They're going to get Boise on a neutral field. I definitely see the bottom half being much easier for Penn State and Georgia. I think you're going to see them in the semi. But boy, that upper half, that's the churn right there. Got Texas, like I said, I believe they're going to blow out Clemson. I'd be intrigued about the Clemson-Arizona State matchup in the second half. But boy, to me, the all eyes on that first weekend is going to be Tennessee-Ohio State. Playing up.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be the best game in the first round. Yep. That's going to be the best game because, Texas will dispatch Clemson in a heartbeat. Penn State will dispatch SMU in a heartbeat. Indiana-Notre Dame game might be okay, but who cares, It's not like I'm interested in seeing those two teams play. Who is? That's going to be the lowest-rated TV game in the entire playoff. So, but once it gets down to Georgia, it's going to be the mystery of who's healthy. Georgia dispatched
Texas.
Yeah, last night.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
I drew a blank because I'm trying to read my notes here. But yeah, they dispatched Texas with a second-team quarterback and a second-team offensive lineman and a second-team defensive back. They were getting hurt left and right.
So can somebody tell me what the definition of targeting is and why in the hell was that not a targeting call against Texas? He came flying up from his safety position, led with his helmet. The fact that he turned his head at the last kind of second, still forcible contact above the shoulders in the head and neck area. It blew me away. Honestly, I watched it again this morning and couldn't believe it.
Well, I can say I was a former high school official for 20 years, and I did do a D2 for a little bit. What they're normally kind of targeting is that crown on a defenseless player. When you're a runner, it's a little bit different game. But, yeah, you can still have targeting on a runner. But I guess when they looked at the replay, I was with you, Ridout. I thought it was targeting. But as soon as they showed the replay and he turned, that's why they waved it off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like you. It looked like it in real time, and they reviewed it. And guess what? You become a runner, it's a different ball game. But yeah,
I thought it was on 2 points here. I thought it was the most consequential play of the game. Watching him take off, this kid has the ability to run far more so does Carson Beck. But watching him see that hole, it was a designed run too. This wasn't an RPO. He was a designed quarterback draw. The way he took off and sacrificed his body, and I'm telling you, when he got up immediately, I thought the kid was dead. And then he popped up, and I thought, you got to be kidding me. He gets up. But to be penalized by having to take a play off because he got his helmet knocked off, that's something else that college football's got to change. I understand if you take it off or what have you, but when you get it knocked off, particularly at the quarterback position, that could have been huge. If Carson Beck couldn't come back in and play, of course, him dragging his arm, I think was a little bit kind of, he was showing out for that. I don't know if his arm was hurt that bad, but you knew he wasn't going to throw.
Deke. That was a great deke. That was a college football deke right there.
But what happens if a third string quarterback who hasn't taken a snap all year under center's got to come in and make that handoff to ATN? Does that happen? I thought that was one of the most consequential plays of the game. Before the touchdown, obviously.
I would say if that were to happen, I think Texas would have put all 11 guys between the tackles and dared them to pass. And
no one's throwing a football.
but how was it
Absolutely.
great for Beck to get to come in and hand off on the game-winning score? That I think that's what the Georgia fans are celebrating today. That Beck went out, but he got to come back for that handoff. So yeah, it was a great game.
Yeah, to be the winning quarterback.
Hey, and how cool was it? I don't know if you saw up in the stadium, they were showing Carson Beck's mom when he went out, and then they were showing the backup quarterback's mom when he got his bell rung, and then at the end, both moms were hugging. My kid played quarterback in high school, and the other kid that played was Steven. We never sat together because we just couldn't handle it. It was just too much for the quarterback moms and dads to be sitting next to each other. So I thought it was really cool to show it solidarity and teamwork when those two families came together at the end of the game. Obviously, it's a huge moment and everybody's celebrating, but pretty cool.
Yeah, she was right behind her in the stands. Number 14, I forgot what his last name is, Stanton, Stafford. He did a good job, number 14. He did do a great job, and I loved that the family was behind each other, and they were hugging back and forth. And then Beck comes back in, and you're like, oh, my God, what's going to happen next? And he wins the game with a handoff, but he wins the game. He's a winning quarterback. I mean, what the hell? Crazy. Hey, talk about Arizona State for a second.
Well,
I mean,
I'm glad you mentioned that. That was on my notes.
I'm not terribly impressed with Arizona State. I've watched enough of their football games. You know, I think Texas blows right through them. I do like them. Don't get me wrong. I think they're good, but I don't think they're equipped to make it very far in this deal. I mean, Arizona State and Boise State are the two with the bye that I'm thinking, what the hell? I mean, we could add two totally different teams in here besides those two teams, besides the fact that they get the bye. So,
yeah,
talk about that.
Well, I'm going to say that's the rules they came up with. I get it. But, yeah, I think Scadaboo is probably, in my opinion, probably maybe the best back in the college. And I think he's going to be a high draft choice, but he's really all they got. I see Texas defense shutting him down. They're just too salty to let somebody run for, what does he get, 200 yards a game and whatnot.
Yeah.
But, yeah, this is an odd deal. I mean, you look at this thing and you see Arizona State and Boise State getting a first-round bye, where Ohio State, Texas, Tennessee, Penn State having to play in the first round. It's just something just not sitting right with me. I know, I get it. That's the rules, and that's how they're trying to set it up. But, yeah, I'm with you. I don't see Arizona State making it out of the quarterfinals.
No, I don't see Boise State or Arizona State, so that's a done deal. That's why I said in my comment on Hardcore Hog that I saw Texas going straight through, and I see Penn State going straight through. Oregon and Georgia. I mean, Georgia is my only faulty. I don't know who they're going to bring because I don't know what the injuries really mean after this game. Who's really hurt, who's really not. So, they took some guys out of that game and still won. But let's get the quarterback back. Let's get that O lineman back. Get that D back. Now, one of their guys somebody got a targeting penalty, and they're going to miss the first half of that next game. So we have to be very leery of that as well. I don't know if that was the Georgia game. Can't remember, but I do know that those targeting calls is going to cost them the first half of the next game. So that's a big deal.
I'm looking at the deal, and I don't follow a lot of Penn State football, but historically it's like Texas. It's one of those programs in college football that when Penn State is good, college football is better, right? I feel the same way about UT. UT needs to be good. Like Nebraska needs to be good for me, in my heart, for college football to really be hitting on all cylinders. But when I look at the bracket, I actually think, Penn State, huge letdown by SMU, losing in that, not being able to defend the kickoff. And if you just kick it out of the end zone, that game probably goes to overtime, and then it's anybody's guess. But I see Penn State with an opportunity because I don't think Boise can. I don't think Boise can score against Penn State. And years past, Penn State has always been kind of the defense heavy team. They didn't really score a lot, but they scored 35 last night, or something, I think it was, or 35 against a really good Oregon team. That was a track meet. This Penn State team seems to me like it's got the ability to do it on both ends of the play caller. Defensive and offensively, I see them easily handling SMU. I don't think Boise State's going to give them. So then who do they get? Is it Texas? Does Arizona State get in there over UT? I kind of see UT going a little far. So then you're going to have a really good matchup. You're going to have UT and Penn State. What I just said a few seconds ago was college football is better when those two teams are good. I really kind of that's the matchup I'm really looking forward to for the first really kind of significant game, other than maybe Tennessee and Oregon after the game against Ohio State.
Hey, well, keep this in mind in your theme of Penn State, Nebraska, all those key teams that makes college football great and what it is, especially from our childhood, teenage, and young adult years, is Notre Dame. I mean, Notre Dame is in there. And if Notre Dame squeezes through and Georgia's playing second-team kids, you may see Notre Dame in there as well. And that was what used to make great college football. And you're exactly right. Whether it was Nebraska, Penn State, Notre Dame, all the big boys, you could see Notre Dame squeeze through there. And that would be nice. I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah. I'm Catholic, and I've learned to never bet against the church. I don't know, something about the Notre Dame. They do look strong, but they played some. Of course, they would say, well, they look good against weaker teams. Well, but they still look good. But yeah, you're right. They could squeeze through there. Question is, can they score on Georgia's defense? To me, that's the big thing. Georgia's offense, to me, has just been haphazard all year, but that defense is going to have to win it for them. I don't know. They could. I just still think it's going to end up being Georgia, Penn State in that semifinal. The upper bracket is more toss up, but I'm gonna agree with Ridout a little bit. I'm kind of thinking it might be a Texas Tennessee. Could partially be Texas Oregon in that other one, and don't be surprised you see Texas and Penn State in the final. Although I still got Oregon winning it all. I still just think they got a really good offense. Their defense is suspect, but defense wins championships though. So I tend to rely on better defenses when you get to this stage of the season.
All right, listen, go ahead, Steve. Go ahead.
I'm Catholic, Bruce. You guys know this. My shocker upset or call for today is going to be Indiana upsetting Notre Dame. I just think the way they handled or didn't handle their business against Ohio State when they were undefeated, and the fact that they got a little bit of reprieve and they got a little bit lucky and they get in, I think that's a football team that wants to make a statement. I don't think they'll beat Georgia in the next round if they get that far, but I'm gonna call my shot, and I'm gonna say Indiana upsets Notre Dame.
Well, that brings us to exactly where I wanted to go. The name of the show is Prediction Thursday. So now we're going to take predictions of moving into the quarterfinals one at a time. I'll start. This is rare, but I'll start with quarterfinals. I'm going to take Texas over Clemson. I'm going to take Tennessee over Ohio State. I'm going to take Penn State over SMU. And I'm going to take Notre Dame over Indiana, because I don't think Indiana's all that in a bag of chips like you think. Steve, what do you think?
Well, Ohio State and Tennessee are going to be sacrificial lambs for Oregon in round two, but I've got Ohio State. I just think that they've got to come back after that loss to Michigan, and they've got to make a statement. I've got them beating Tennessee, and actually beating them pretty handily. I don't even think it's really going to be close. Texas is on a mission. I think they get the job done against Dabo Swinney and his bunch. I'm going to take Penn State and IU.
Oh, there you go. Little. Come on, Bruce. What you got, brother?
I'll pull a Corso, not so fast, my friend. No, I agree. I kind of lean a little bit more with Rick on this, but yeah, I see Texas just blowing Clemson out. Clemson's not good, and they win their conference and they get a 12 seed. That's probably even too high, but they had to put them in somewhere. Again, as I mentioned earlier, Ohio State, Tennessee. I'm going to be anxious to see how, like you said, how Ohio State does after getting embarrassed with the flag planting fight and all that. I wouldn't be surprised to see Ohio State blow them out, but I still think Tennessee's just going to come in and throw on them. I think they're going to spread them out, wear them out. I'm going to go with my shocker. It's going to be Tennessee over Ohio State in the first round. I got Penn State in a relatively close one with SMU. I think Penn State's defense will win in a low-scoring game. It's going to be like a 28-21 type game. I think SMU will move the ball at times, but at the end, Penn State's they're just too big. Their defense is too good. Notre Dame, Indiana, it's going to be prime time, Friday night? Is that correct? I got Notre Dame winning and winning big on that one. I just don't think Indiana's is that good. So that's my predictions.
Yeah, 7 o'clock Central in South Bend. That'd be a good one. Well,
Yeah.
Hey, look, let's move it forward. Let's go forward to the semis. Come on, boys. Listen, I got Texas beating the shit out of Arizona State because I think they're good, but they're high school good. You know what I mean? I got Texas going in. Man, the Oregon-Tennessee game for me, I got to give it to Oregon. So I got to put Oregon in there against Texas. And then I got to move Penn State forward for sure. They're going to embarrass Boise State. I mean, embarrass with a 65-7 type score. Boise State. So Penn State goes through Boise. Notre Dame and Georgia. That's my least confident pick. But I'm going to tell you that it depends on if Georgia gets their first team back. But I don't think they get it done with a second-team quarterback. So I'm going split here. If we got the second-team quarterback, I'm giving it to Notre Dame. If we've got the first-team quarterback, I'm giving it to Georgia. That's all I can tell you, boys. Bruce, what you got?
Well, I agree with you. I think Texas will shut down Scatterboo and Arizona State. I don't even think that'll be a game. Texas will look good, and then all the arrogant Texas fans will start talking on social media again. I got Oregon winning whoever they play against the second round. I picked Tennessee. Penn State, I see them again rolling. Boise, I don't see that even as a good game. I'm just going to say Georgia. They just tend to play well. I'll take Georgia over Notre Dame in the semi or the quarters. Excuse me.
I think Georgia's got the easiest path down to the semis, honestly. So I'm gonna take Georgia against IU. I think they put them away pretty quick. I think that's the first half of football, and that one's over. You can flip the channel and go watch something else. I think Penn State's gonna do Boise in much the same fashion. Bruce, I'm 100% with you. I think Texas is just kind of sitting back and saying, "Hey, it doesn't matter where we are in this thing. We're in it." 2 losses to Georgia, right? Number 2 team in the country. Those are the 2 losses, and they played significantly better in the second version of that game than they did in that 30-15 loss in Austin. So I've got Texas whomping down pretty hard on Arizona State. And then I'm going to ride with the Ducks. We haven't shot any ducks down here in Texas. It's been duck season for like a month and a half. We hadn't shot any ducks. So I think they fly by one more week because I won't be shooting at them. That's for sure. My lease is dry as a bone. So I got Oregon. Yeah. So I got Georgia, Penn State, T-Sips, and the Ducks moving forward.
Well, all right. So here we draw down to the very end. I mean, we've got the championship game. Obviously, I feel like it's Oregon and Texas. You know, I'm gonna be watching it. I'll probably put a bet on it, but I'm here to tell you that Oregon has not seen the light of Texas. And I'm telling you right now, Texas is going to beat the ever-living shit out of Oregon. And it's going to be ugly. I know Oregon's awesome. Don't get me wrong. I love their football. It's fun to play over there on the West Coast. It's great to play indoors. It's great to play in the weather. But you're going to get your ass kicked by Texas, and I don't care what the weather is.
Bruce?
That was one of your semis. There's another. You'd have Penn State and Georgia, the other semi.
Well, I've got Penn State going all the way.
Okay.
But I'm talking about in the finals. I'm sorry. I moved to the finals. Did I move ahead too fast?
We skipped the semis, but
I thought we just did the semis.
Rick's already made up his mind.
I mean, did we just do the semis?
You did the quarters.
I got Penn State moving to the semis. I said Georgia or Notre Dame, depending on who was playing the best.
Okay.
So it's a selection show, Rick. You got to pick somebody. You can't have Oregon or Notre Dame. Or you can't have Georgia or Notre Dame. Pick somebody.
Bro. Yeah. I got Penn State in the finals.
You got Penn State over Georgia?
I got Penn State on the finals, and I got Texas. And then I got Texas winning the national championship. Yeah, I jumped ahead of myself. You're right. I'm notorious for that.
We'll call you Corso.
I don't disagree. Here's one thing that kind of creeps into my mindset about what's the path for Texas. When they play SEC caliber teams, they have the ability to run the football, although they didn't do it very well against Jordan. And I don't know why they didn't run the football, because that was the bane of their existence in that first meeting with Georgia. They didn't run the football. They threw it all over the place, but they had turnovers and they dropped balls. last night was almost a mirror of their performance running the football and dropping footballs and turning the football over against Georgia. Those games were so close, but they were so far away, but they really resembled each other a lot. The final scores in those two games didn't so much. I think Oregon is going to face a Texas team that can defend at an elite level. Oregon's got great receivers. If you watched that game last night, the announcers are like, this may be the fastest guy on the planet, not just on the football field. So Oregon's got some tremendous athletes. Texas has equally as capable athletes on the back end. I think they shut them down. Oregon's not going to run the football against Texas. Oregon will not run the football against Texas. And then so that's where I'm going with that in Oregon. And then I'm going to take Penn State to move on as well.
All right. Well, those are both really good picks, and I think either one of those could be the way it shakes out. I agree. Texas is probably better than Oregon. I think Texas defense can win, can get them to the final. I've been saying Oregon would win all along, but after watching them last night, their defense just doesn't look good. So I'm going to say Texas beat Oregon in the semis. That defense will shut them down. I got Georgia will hold on to Penn State. So I think you're going to get a Texas, Georgia, second rematch, third time for the first time ever. And it'll be a game a lot like what happened last night. And I'm going to say Georgia beats Texas in the final. And then we're going to hear the Texas fans bitching and whining for the next 6 months till the next season starts. That's my prediction.
Well, I can tell you this. If that's the way it turns out with a Georgia-Texas final and Georgia beats them, it will be a good and gosh darn welcome to the SEC, boys. You got your ass shellacked by the same team 3 times. There is no doubt they are the national championship. Welcome to the SEC. However, it's against the pick that I make. So I'm going to say that Texas goes through. I'm going to say Georgia falls in the semis.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a Texas-Penn State game, and I think Steve's probably on my page. But at the end of the day, Suskie, if that's the case, I swear to God, I'll love to see Texas get their ass beat by Georgia and be talked to about, hey, welcome to the SEC. Go stand in the corner with Oklahoma. Wait your turn.
Well, keep in mind that if Georgia ends up playing Texas again, that will be the 3rd time that they've played a decent team all year long. It would have been Georgia all 3 times. Texas had the most favorable SEC schedule. They didn't play a home game, or they didn't play a road game until like December 1st or something like that. It's nuts. They had the OU game, but that's kind of a home and home type deal. That's not a really road game. But I don't want to see Texas.
Talk about favorable schedules. Yeah, hey, back up. Talk about favorable schedules. Oregon hadn't played anybody. I mean, I don't know anybody that Oregon's played worth a damn. Let's see, Oregon.
Well, Penn State. Penn State and Ohio State.
Okay.
Right?
Well, hey, and that Penn State game was a good game. Don't get me wrong. That was great. But let's see. Top of the Big Ten.
You could quit looking because there isn't anybody.
No, they got Penn State, Indiana, all those idiots.
And they did beat Ohio State. So
I think my problem is I'm not a big fan of the conference. So is what it is.
Yeah, and they barely beat Ohio State. If I remember, it was like, a 1-point game back in mid-October. Remember the guy slid down and the clock ran out? The quarterback slid down. Otherwise, I'll go back
to what I said earlier. I think college football is better when historic programs like Texas and Penn State. So that's what I want to see in a college football final. I don't want to see a three-peat or a 3-match or whatever we want to call it of Georgia and Texas. I've already seen. I know what that looks like. And I don't think that's good for college football. I think any system that allows that to happen is flawed and needs to be rectified. So I think you're gonna see Penn State. I mean, I think Penn State did a great job last night. It wasn't their night. But I think Penn State's a great candidate to be there. I think Texas is a great candidate to be there. I think Texas has the mighty power to do it. Their defense is swarming. Their offense is solid. I love how they've added Arch Manning in there for some, take it up, fruit basket turnover, rushing plays. And it's just Sarkisian's got it going on, buddy. He's confident and he's got it going on. I think he's the winner. I think he's the national champion this year. He's the Nick Saban this year, for sure. Well, he better hope my prediction is right, because if Georgia is in that championship game against Texas, I give the nod to Georgia. But I don't think it's going to happen. Hey, you guys live in Arkansas now. I don't live in Arkansas anymore. I live in Texas, and I'm just a couple hours from Austin. And I'm telling you, as much as I want to see UT program have success, if I have to listen to them for a whole year about being number one, as an Arkansas fan, how bad is that going to be? Our only saving grace is we can say, look, they only beat us by 10 points, and we held them scoreless in the second half.
Hey, and here's the worst case. You're like George Waddell. You get zero feed on Razorback football. You're like steady fed a UT diet of orange and white. It is terrible. I can't imagine.
Yeah. The only thing worse than that is listening to the Aggie fans when they're successful.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that they got thumped.
Yeah, well, I could say I get you there right out. I don't know if you know. So I live in Little Rock, but my wife's in San Antonio. She works for UT Medical down in San Antonio. So I spend half my time down in San Antonio. So I will say that dealing with and listening to the Texas fans versus the A&M fans, I tend to like the Texas fans much better. The A&M fans are just weird and arrogant. At least
Agreed.
Texas can back it up. At least you can talk sense with the Texas.
You can't have men cheerleaders and be cool. Can't do it.
Yeah. Hey,
What's this?
Suskie. Hey, Suskie. My dad lives in San Antonio as well. He lives in the Dominion. So the next trip you plan down there, we'll have to go play a little golf in the Dominion together.
My wife's boss.
It's always nice in San Antonio.
Yeah, my wife's boss lives in the Dominion. I've been in there several times. They've tried to tell us to move down there and buy a house in the Dominion area. That's nice.
Absolutely.
Really nice area.
My dad's lived there for 30 years, and he's a club champion at the Dominion.
Oh, really?
He's a senior club champion at the Dominion. He's 80 years old and still is a scratch golfer.
Well, my wife's
Ridout can back that up.
my wife's boss, her husband, they're in their 70s. That's all he does. He's retired. She's a department head, physician department head at the medical school there. So he doesn't work. He's a big golfer, so I bet they know each other.
What's his name?
I'm not sure if he has the same last name as her, but her name is God, I just went blank. I have to think about it.
Well, that'd be funny if they played in the same group.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Dominion,
He plays every day.
He plays every day.
Play out there all the time when I'm down there.
My dad plays every day, so that'd be cool. We go out there and join their group for a minute. Hey, Ridout's done it before. Hey, Ridout, what happened last time we joined my dad's group?
I lost every bit of dollar bills in my pocket.
And it wasn't a little. It was a lot.
It was a lot.
Both of us.
Yeah, he gave it. I think he was the senior citizen at the time, playing from the senior tees, and he took everything we had and smiled all the way.
Yeah, we got to scramble against him at the Dominion. He pretty much put the ass whipping to us.
I think I was playing probably do a 9 or a 10 handicap at the time, and he just thumped our ass.
I love it down there. All right, so next time you go, Bruce, you need to let me know, because Steve only lives a couple hours from there. So
yeah, her name's Marcia Kinney, but I don't think he has the same last name, and his name is Greg, so it might be Greg Kinney, but I don't know if that's the same last name.
Well, you'll have to text me when you figure out what it is, and I'll see if they play, because my dad definitely does play every day, at least 4 days a week, whatever that is. So anyway, all right, boys. Hey, let's wrap it up. That was a good podcast. I think we hashed it all out. The only difference we have here is Bruce has Georgia in the finals, and me and Steve have Penn State in the finals. We both see Texas going. So let's go, boys.
I'm anxious to hear what Sean and Jay Lawson and Railbird and all those guys have to say. But hey, one thing I did think about it, after this playoff session is over, we get through the finals. If there's any problems with the playoff, we just get Jay Lawson on it, because hey, he was responsible for getting the slobber hog on the basketball court and Bobby Petrino back. I bet he'd go fix college playoff.
Brother, I just posted that. I told you. I know. I said, just if you don't believe me, just ask Suskie. All right, boys. Hey, good times. Enjoyed talking to y'all. I think that was fun.
There it is.
Go Hogs.
Go Hogs. See you, Rick. See you, Suskie.